In this video, we're going to show you how easy it is to set up the Helix platform by performing a full server installation and client configuration. You can easily deploy Helix on many different OS client-server combinations, but we're going to use Windows for this example. We'll start here on the Downloads page on the Perforce website. All you need is the versioning engine and the Visual Client, P4V. I already have both files downloaded and sitting on my desktop ready for install. For this sample setup, we're going to use our local machine as both client and server. To get started, I double-click on the versioning engine installer and begin walking through the screens. On the initial Select Features screen, use the default selection of Server and no proxy or broker. For this simple setup, you will not need a proxy server for distributed development or the broker to restrict commands. Detailed application info can be found by hitting this button. And the space button will tell you how much room is available on the drives connected to your machine. The server application is very small, but it will be helpful to know how much real estate you have for versioned files if you plan to store them on this machine. Deselect the command line, since we'll be installing that with P4V. The default port number of 1666 on the server configuration screen will work fine. Select Start and let the installer go to work. When you see the completion screen, you are given the option to display the technical documentation page. We'll leave this unchecked and select Finish. If you are the administrator on this machine, Helix is installed as a service and starts immediately. If you're not, go to Control Panel, Administrative Tools, Services, and start it manually. Now that the server installation is complete, double-click on the P4V installer to begin the client setup. On the initial Select Features screen, just leave the default selections to load everything and hit Next. On the next Client Configuration screen, the default value of 1666 is fine since that's what we set for the server. The default text editing application will be Notepad, and lastly, we have a spot to enter our username. This is most useful if you were installing this client to log into an existing system. However, since this is a brand new install of the client and server, we'll ignore the name and set up a new account on our first login. Now select Start to install P4V. When you see the completion screen, hit Finish. Now that all the installation tasks are complete, let's launch the client, P4V, and do a quick configuration. First, we need to enter the server and port number. Since we are running the server and client on the same machine for this demo, I will enter localhost before the port number of 1666. If you are running the server on another machine, enter that host name. Next, we select New to set up a user account and enter our information. I'll enter John as my username, and John Wakeman for the full name. Lastly, I'll enter an email, and I'll leave the password blank. Now we will set up an initial workspace. First, let's create a new folder on our desktop to store the files we want to version. We'll call it P4. Next, we hit the New button to start configuring the workspace. First, we will shorten the default name just a bit. Then we'll browse to the folder we just made and make it the workspace root. This folder will be the location for all the files we want to version in Helix. Now, select OK to finalize the workspace setup. To learn more about workspaces, check out the Setting Up Workspaces in P4V tutorial. You now have a full Helix deployment set up to version all your files. It's free for 20 users and includes tech support. This concludes our walkthrough of the Helix installation. If you have any technical questions, please contact support@perforce.com. Thanks for watching.